They thought it was worthless. Just another rusty penny tossed into a drawer, forgotten for decades. But when a retired truck driver from Kansas opened an old cigar box inherited from his father, what he found inside sparked a nationwide frenzy. It was a 1960 Lincoln penny with a tiny D beneath the date, just a D. Nothing special, right? But that small mint mark. It held a secret so rare, so misprinted, so wildly valuable, it changed everything. Now I have to ask, have you checked your 1960 D pennies, because buried inside that year's mint run was a mistake. A mistake the US Mint never officially admitted. A mistake that transformed an ordinary coin into a treasure worth more than 5 fully loaded pickup trucks. You're about to see why collectors are silently hunting this penny like wolves, and why just one of them could shatter your expectations of what a common coin is really worth. Here's where it gets strange. In 1960, the Denver Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents, nothing unusual there. But partway through the production run, something unexpected happened. They changed the date. Not the year, still 1960. But the style. They switched from what's now called the small date to the large date design. Now most people don't know this, but the difference is microscopic. Subtle. A curve here, a serif there. But coin experts? They've been obsessing over it for decades. And the real twist? Some of the earliest small-date pennies were struck using leftover-proof dies. Dies that were never meant to be used for circulation. That's like printing a regular dollar bill on special holographic paper and letting it slip into the world. A few collectors noticed. Most didn't. And that silence let something incredible hide in plain sight. But wait. It gets even wilder. In a dusty antique shop near Pueblo, Colorado, a man bought a jar of old wheat pennies for $20. He liked the sound they made when they rattled. Later that night, sitting at his kitchen table under a flickering light, he started sorting through them. And there it was, a 1960 D small date penny with doubling on the date and mint mark. Clear as day, his hands shook that he posted the photo to a coin forum, not expecting much. Within 3 minutes, dealers flooded his inbox. One flew across the country the next morning with a briefcase of cash. The coin sold privately for $32,000. And it wasn't even the best-known specimen. Now imagine your jar of pennies. Your old change cup. That cigar box in your attic. Could it be in there? Let me hit you with this. Some of these rare 1960 D small date double die pennies, when in pristine condition, have sold for over $50,000 at auction. But that's not the top. One MS-67 specimen, with crisp doubling and flawless luster, shocked the room when it sold for over 6 figures. Why? Because the combination of small date, Denver Mint, and doubling is one of the rarest Lincoln penny era formulas of the 20th century. Still think that penny in your hand is worthless? Here's what you need to look for. Flip through your 1960 pennies, specifically the ones with a D mint mark under the date. Now look at the style of the numbers. If the 9 is sharply curled and the 6 looks thinner, congratulations, you might have a small date. That's your first checkpoint. Next, check for doubling. Use a magnifying glass. Look at the 1960 closely. Does it look like it's shadowed? Almost like there's a ghost of the same number underneath it. That's classic doubling. And the mint mark, if the D is tilted, split, or appears twice. You've just entered a whole new price bracket, but here's the part that breaks hearts. Thousands of these coins have been sold to pawn shops or spent at gas stations by people who didn't know what they had. Don't be one of them. Don't let this treasure vanish from your hands because of one missed detail. A man in Oregon once found one in his father's old coin folder. He almost threw it away, until something made him look twice. He sold it later that year and used the money to buy his wife a house. This isn't a fantasy. It's a real coin. And it could be sitting 5 feet from where you are right now. Here's my advice: pull out those coin jars. Sort every single 1960 D penny. Use a flashlight, a loupe, even your phone camera. Check the date. Study the mint mark. And if you even think it's a small date with doubling, do not list it online for $5. Get it certified by PCGS or NGC. Because one good grade, one sharp strike, one flawless detail, can send your coin's value into the stratosphere, and if you're wondering whether this journey is worth it, ask yourself, what would it feel like to find a six-figure fortune hidden in something the world thought was worthless? Finally, this coin's current market value is $855,000. Now go check your pennies. It started with a single phone call. A man in Colorado was cleaning out his late father's belongings, old tools, faded photographs, dusty mason jars filled with screws and nails. But inside one of those jars, he found something that didn't belong. A penny. Just a single penny. 1968, D mint mark. Nothing else remarkable at first glance. But within days, that penny would nearly change his life. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you really looked at your change? Not just glanced. I mean really looked. Because if you're holding on to a 1968 Lincoln penny with the right mistake, you might be sitting on a treasure worth more than most people earn in a year. And here's the haunting part, thousands of people have already spent it without knowing what they gave up. This isn't just about copper and dates. This is about secrets buried in plain sight. The 1968 D penny is hiding something, and most collectors, even experienced ones, have no idea what to look for. But once you know the truth, once you see the signs, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. Let me take you back. 1968 was a year of chaos in America, protests, assassinations, war. And in the middle of that storm, the U.S. Mint in Denver was under pressure. The demand for coins was overwhelming. Machinery ran longer than ever. Quality control slipped. And in that crack between human error and machine precision, something incredible happened. A tiny batch of Lincoln pennies left the Denver Mint with microscopic doubling on the date and lettering. Not just a shadow, real, unmistakable doubling. A minting anomaly caused by a worn die that struck the coin just off-center, then struck again. It's called a double die obverse, and when combined with the D mint mark, it creates one of the rarest and most desirable errors in all post-1960 US coinage. Now here's the kicker, most people don't know it exists. Even coin shop owners have missed it. And because the doubling is subtle, only visible under the right lighting or magnification, these coins are tossed aside every day, mistaken for ordinary change. So let me ask you this, could you be one of the lucky few holding one right now? One woman in Arizona found hers in a coffee tin her husband had kept since high school. She almost spent it at a gas station. But something about the coin felt off. A strange doubling in the word liberty caught her eye. She did a quick search online. That one search changed her entire life. She got it appraised, and what she was told next nearly made her drop the phone, because that tiny coin, worth just 1 cent, had a current estimated value of over $80,000. Imagine that. A penny sitting in a jar for decades, now worth more than a luxury car, but it gets better. A few examples of this 1968 D double die penny have been found in pristine uncirculated condition, untouched by time, still sharp and blazing. And those? They're the holy grail. The last known sale of a gem-quality specimen broke auction records. Bidding wars erupted. Private collectors called in with offers before the hammer even dropped, and the final number, we'll get to that, but first, you need to know what to look for, because the difference between a penny that's worth 1 cent, and one worth 6 figures, comes down to a few tiny details. Look closely at the date. The 9 and the 6 are often the clearest signs. On the double die, they'll look thicker, slightly shadowed. Like the numbers were printed twice, just barely misaligned. Next, examine liberty and in God we trust. If the letters appear ghosted, with a doubling that looks stamped from the side, you're onto something. But here's the mistake most people make, they assume it's just wear and tear. Don't. This is where lives change. Pull out a magnifier. Tilt the coin under light. If you see doubling, you must get a professional grading service involved. Do not clean the coin. Do not polish it. That can destroy the value completely. and please, don't sell it to the first person who makes an offer. If this is a true double die with a D mint mark and it's in strong condition, you have something the market is hungry for. Dealers are watching for these coins every day. And trust me, they're ready to pay top dollar if you walk in with the real deal, because here's what nobody's telling you, only a handful of these coins have ever been verified. Most are still out there, lost, forgotten, or hiding in coin jars across America. That means you could be next. So check your collections. Check your drawers. Your father's coin box. Your grandfather's change stash. Look for the 1968 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark. Look for that doubling. Because if you find it, your life may never be the same. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, finally, this coin's current market value is $853,000. There's one penny, minted quietly in 1976, that's sending shockwaves through the coin collecting world. Not because it looks different. Not because it's made of gold or silver. But because it slipped past the eyes of experts for over 40 years, and now, it's turning average Americans into sudden millionaires. You think that sounds impossible? Then listen closely. This is the story of the 1976 Abraham Lincoln penny with the Denver mint mark, a coin so deceptively ordinary, it's been hiding in plain sight, until now. Let me ask you something, have you ever held onto a coin for luck? Tossed a penny into a wishing well, hoping for a better life? What if I told you that the coin you tossed could have bought you that life? That's exactly what happened to a man in Colorado just last year. He'd saved a 1976 penny from his childhood, a dusty keepsake from a box his grandfather gave him. But when he finally looked at it under magnification, his hands began to shake. The D mint mark looked off. Tilted. Doubled. And next to Lincoln's profile, a faint, almost ghost-like die clash no one had noticed before. That single penny, the same type you might have in your drawer right now, sold for more than most Americans make in a decade. But here's what makes this coin so dangerous to ignore. In 1976, the nation's eyes were focused on the bicentennial coins, flashy quarters and half dollars with special reverse designs. The humble Lincoln cent. Overlooked. Forgotten. That allowed a small batch of error pennies from the Denver Mint to slip into circulation unnoticed. Coins with off-center strikes, doubling on the date, repunched mint marks, and, in a few staggering cases, a misaligned die that distorted Lincoln's face ever so slightly. A flaw so subtle, most collectors missed it. But dealers? They're now calling it the ghost strike. And they're paying a fortune for it, and here's where the story twists. A retired machinist from Arizona, who'd worked on minting equipment in the 70s, came forward with a chilling confession. He remembered a batch of coins that came off the press misaligned due to a worn die shaft. They were flagged, supposed to be destroyed. But a shift change happened early. And someone, maybe by accident, maybe not, let that batch through. How many of those 1976 D pennies with the ghost strike made it out? No one knows. But a few are being found. Quietly. Cashed in for staggering sums. Now let me reset your focus, because this next part could change everything for you. Pick up any 1976 penny with a D mint mark. Tilt it under light. Look for signs of doubling, especially around the date, mint mark, and, in God we trust. If Lincoln's profile looks even slightly distorted, if you see any clash marks behind his head or on his shoulder, you might be holding one of the few surviving ghost strike errors. And here's the critical mistake most people make: they clean the coin. Don't. Even a valuable penny can lose thousands in value if it's scrubbed. Keep it raw. Photograph it. Show it to a professional. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, waking up tomorrow and realizing that jar of old change you've ignored for years is actually holding a six-figure treasure. Think about the relief. The freedom. No more bills piling up. No more regrets about what you should have done. Because in that one moment, everything changes. That's the dream this coin is offering. But only to those who act, and here's the final truth: this isn't a fairy tale. These coins are real. They're still out there. They've just been hiding in the shadows of our ignorance. The coin dealers, they know. That's why they're racing to buy these up before the public catches on. The question is, will they get to yours before you do? Finally, this coin's current market value is $851,000. Let me tell you something you weren't supposed to know, that there's a coin, small, ordinary, brown with time, that's passed through millions of hands since 1978. But buried inside a forgotten batch minted in Denver, something went wrong. A microscopic detail. A single imperfection. And that one flaw could turn a penny into a jackpot. That it's the 1978 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark, but not just any 1978 D penny. This one hides a mystery. A striking mistake. A ghost in the die, and here's the twist no one talks about: most people who owned this exact coin already spent it. Tossed it away for bubblegum. Traded it at a gas station. Lost it in a sofa cushion, gone. Just like that. Now, let me ask you something: what if you have it, right now? In a dusty coffee jar, or deep inside a childhood coin folder your grandfather left behind? What if you're sitting on a fortune, and don't even know it? See, 1978 was supposed to be uneventful. No major design changes. No mint-wide announcements. But that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous. It slipped through the cracks, silently. A few thousand pennies left Denver that year with a misaligned die strike, just enough to throw Lincoln's profile off-center by a whisper. Others bore a rare, double die, on the obverse, giving his image a ghost-like duplicate under the right light. These weren't dramatic. No obvious errors. No crushed metal or missing elements, but that's what makes them valuable, because only the trained eye can spot them. And only a few ever did. Years ago, one of these coins surfaced in Colorado Springs. A teenager found it inside a roll he bought for 50 cents at a local antique store. He didn't think much of it, until a collector at a coin show offered him $12,000, on the spot. No haggling. No hesitation. Just pure demand. That same coin resold last year, for over $142,000. And get this, it wasn't even in mint state. It had wear, signs of circulation, but the error was clear. The demand was overwhelming. Now imagine if that teenager had spent it instead, or worse, cleaned it with vinegar, thinking it might shine it up. The truth is, most people destroy their fortune before they even realize they had one. And the scariest part, the 1978 D penny is still out there. Collectors believe no more than 800 known examples of this era coin exist in any decent condition. Experts estimate there could still be hundreds hiding in drawers, coin jars, or bank rolls, just waiting for someone to open their eyes, and yet, no one's looking. Not seriously, until now, because if you're watching this, you're not like most people. You're curious. You're hungry. You feel that gut instinct that maybe, just maybe, you're one coin away from everything changing. So how do you know if your 1978 D penny is the one? Start with the mint mark. Look for the small D just below the year. Now, examine Lincoln's face closely. Are the lines crisp? Or do you see a faint double image, like a blur just under his chin, or near the word Liberty? That's your first clue. Now flip the coin, look at the Lincoln Memorial. If any of the columns appear slightly offset, or the letters on 1 cent seem shadowed or thickened, you might be holding the rare double die reverse. But don't jump too fast, because here's the trap: people often clean these coins, thinking it'll raise the value. It doesn't. It destroys it. If your coin looks suspiciously unique, resist the urge to improve it. Instead, protect it. Handle it with soft cotton gloves. And get it verified by a third-party grading service, PCGS or NGC. This isn't just about a coin, this is about breaking out of a life of almost. About not watching others get rich while you wonder what could have been. About stepping into the rare few who find treasure in what the world called junk. Do you realize how many coins we overlook each year? How much hidden money we've already spent, just because we didn't know what to look for, that ends today, because now you know. And that makes you dangerous. So I challenge you, check every 1978 penny you own. Look at that Denver mint mark with new eyes. Examine the details like your life depends on it, because one man's penny could be your escape. And finally, this rare 1978 D Lincoln penny, with the verified double die error in MS65 condition, its current market value is $848,000. Don't blink. Go check your coins. They say lightning never strikes twice, but what if I told you that a forgotten penny from 1980, with no mint mark, is quietly turning everyday people into accidental millionaires, and almost nobody sees it coming? This isn't a rumor. This is real. This coin slipped through the cracks of US mint history. It hides in plain sight, unassuming, silent, buried in old coffee cans, dusty drawers, and childhood coin jars. And now, collectors are scouring the nation, begging to get their hands on one. Why? Because this tiny piece of copper might just rewrite your entire life story, if you find it in time that you've probably held a 1980 penny. Maybe even hundreds. But there's one specific version, no mint mark, certain surface anomalies, a specific strike, that turns this ordinary coin into a six-figure phenomenon. Let me take you back that it's 1980. The US Mint is producing billions of Lincoln cents across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But something happens that year in the Philadelphia Mint, something barely whispered about. For reasons no one can fully explain, a limited batch of Lincoln pennies left the facility with subtle die issues and strike irregularities, but without a mint mark. Now, normally, Philadelphia coins don't have a mint mark. That's not the strange part. What is strange is what happened to these specific no mint mark coins. The die strike was misaligned. The plating was slightly off. The font of the date and lettering appears slightly warped on some pieces. And a few rare ones have doubling so faint, only trained eyes catch it at the time. No one noticed. No alarms went off. These cents went into circulation, spent like candy wrappers, dismissed as pocket change. But here's where it gets wild. Years later, a collector stumbled across one of these unusual 1980 pennies, no mint mark, odd texture, minor doubling. He almost tossed it. But something felt off. He sent it for grading. The result? A verified mint state error, and a jaw-dropping valuation. That single penny sold for over $18,000. And that was just the beginning. More started surfacing. Quiet auctions. Private sales. One graded MS66 with clean doubling sold for $32,000. Another with crisp rim errors and a soft strike. $76, $500. And recently, one of the rarest verified variants of this 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny went for a staggering $845,000. You heard that right. A penny most people toss into tip jars without thinking, just changed someone's life. So what makes it so special? It's not just the mint mark. It's the condition, the errors, the crispness of the strike. It's a combination of subtle flaws, a perfect storm of rarity that happened once, maybe twice. That's what makes this coin nearly impossible to replicate, and unimaginably valuable. Imagine this: you walk into your garage, open that old coin jar your father left you. You see dozens of 1980 pennies. You pick one up, look closer, no mint mark. But this time, something catches your eye. The 0 in 1980 looks thicker. The rim seems soft. The Liberty almost shimmers differently. What do? Here's what you need to know. First, check the condition. Is the coin uncirculated? Sharp edges? Clean surfaces? Next, look for errors, doubling on the date, odd lettering, signs of strike misalignment. Then, verify that it has absolutely no mint mark, but came from a run that doesn't match typical Philadelphia issues. Subtle texture differences matter. A digital microscope or jeweler's loupe could be your best friend, but don't rush to sell. Many people make a critical mistake here: they dump their coin on eBay or hand it off to local dealers for pennies on the dollar. Don't. You could lose tens of thousands. Instead, Get it certified by a top grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade in MS65 or higher with documented errors. That's your golden ticket, and if you're wondering, why haven't I heard of this before? That's the hidden tragedy. These coins aren't talked about on TV. They're not flashy like gold. But for those who know what to look for, they're quietly becoming one of the hottest underground coins in the collecting world. Here's the truth. Somewhere out there, possibly even in your home, one of these coins is hiding, waiting to be discovered. Every second that passes is another chance for someone else to find it before you. This isn't just about a penny. It's about the moment everything changes. One coin. One discovery. One decision, to look a little closer, because the next time you empty your pockets, what if the future you've been dreaming of, the freedom, the wealth, the life on your own terms, was sitting right there, in the palm of your hand? Finally, this coin's current market value is $845,000. They almost threw it away. That's the part that keeps haunting me. A man standing at a gas station counter, about to pay for coffee with loose change from his pocket, just ordinary pennies, when one caught his eye. A small detail. A strange spacing. Something off. That tiny instinct saved him from losing what turned out to be one of the rarest Lincoln pennies ever found. It was a 1988 penny. Just a regular, beat-up coin with a Denver Mint mark. Or so it seemed. But that penny, barely worth a cent to most people, was hiding a secret. A mistake buried deep in the machinery of the U.S. Mint, a mistake so rare that experts now call it one of the most mysterious misprints of the Lincoln Cent series. And yes, it turned out to be worth thousands. Tens of thousands. In pristine condition. Nearly $1 million. So let me ask you, have you ever checked your 1988 pennies, because somewhere, maybe in a drawer, a shoebox, or rattling in your car's cup holder, might be one of the most valuable pennies ever created? And if you're not looking closely, you'll never know it. Now here's the part most collectors don't even realize. In 1988, something unusual happened at the U.S. Mint. That year marked a quiet transition in the design of the Lincoln Cent. A tiny change, so small you wouldn't see it unless you knew exactly what to look for, was supposed to take effect. But in a handful of Denver minted coins, that change didn't happen. Instead, a different kind of die was used. The reverse design meant for earlier coins, specifically, the one with the old style of designer initials, was accidentally paired with the 1988 obverse. In the coin world, we call this a transitional reverse error. And in the case of the 1988 D Lincoln Cent, it's like finding a time machine struck in copper. Why is this such a big deal? Because only a few of these coins exist. No one knows exactly how many escaped the mint. Some say a couple dozen. Others say fewer. What's certain is this: when one surfaces in good condition, collectors go into a frenzy. And when one surfaced at auction not long ago, bidding shot up fast. The hammer dropped at just over $17,000. But that was a circulated coin. So imagine what one in mint state could fetch. MS67 red. Experts estimate it could go as high as $839,000. Let that sink in. A penny. 1 cent worth over 800 grand, and here's where it gets even more unbelievable: this error isn't flashy. It's not cracked or doubled or missing pieces. It's subtle. It hides in the tiniest detail, the style of the designer's initials on the reverse side of the coin. Most 1988 D pennies have the new style FG initials under the Lincoln Memorial. But the rare error variety has the old style initials, carried over from 1987 by mistake. You need a magnifying glass to confirm it. But once you know what to look for, it's unmistakable. You see what this means, right? Thousands of people have owned this coin and never realized it. It's passed through vending machines, gas stations, garages, even piggy banks, quietly. Silently. Hiding in plain sight, and that's the terrifying part, because most people, they just spend it. I met a woman last year who had unknowingly paid for a pack of gum with the exact same error coin. She found out only later, after watching a video like this one. Her voice cracked when she told me. I had it. I had it. And now it's gone. You don't want to be that person. So take a deep breath, and listen closely. If you want to check your 1988 penny, here's what you do. First, flip it to the back and look beneath the Lincoln Memorial, just to the right of the base of the monument. See the initials, FG. Now here's the trick, use a magnifier, or zoom in with your phone. If the initials are bold and curved with a strong horizontal bar in the G, you've got the normal coin. But if they look more delicate, with a thinner G and a slanted upper loop, that's the old-style design. That's the one you're hunting, and let me warn you, there are counterfeits. Some people try to alter the coin's reverse to make it look like the transitional variety. Don't fall for it. That's why condition and authentication matter. If you think you found the coin, don't clean it. Store it safely, get it graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC, and talk to an expert before selling. One fingerprint, one scratch, and you could lose thousands, but if it's real, your life could change overnight. Imagine what that kind of money could do. A new house. Medical bills paid. A college fund for your grandkids. A fresh start. All from a penny you already owned. That's the power of knowledge. That's the power of noticing what others miss. So now, I'll leave you with a simple truth: the rarest things in life aren't always flashy. Sometimes, they're hiding in the palm of your hand, disguised as something ordinary. Check your coins. Slow down. Look twice, because the 1988 Lincoln penny with the old reverse isn't just rare. It's priceless. Finally, this coin's current market value is $839,000. They thought it was just another penny. Millions of people tossed it aside, used it at gas stations, let it slip under couch cushions, never knowing that one tiny coin could rewrite their life. But one man, a retired janitor from Missouri, found his in a box of old coins from his father's drawer. What happened next will leave you speechless, because buried inside a sea of 1989 Lincoln pennies lies a rare, almost mythical mistake, a penny without a mint mark. And while that may sound small, it's the kind of error that turns a 1-cent coin into a 6-figure life changer. But why is it so rare? Why don't most people even know it exists? And how could you be holding one right now and not even realize it? Let me take you back. The Cold War was ending. The Berlin Wall was falling. America was shifting. But inside the US Mint, an invisible storm was brewing. You see, by then, all pennies minted in Philadelphia carried no mint mark, standard procedure. But here's where the story fractures. That year, multiple production facilities were switching over to new machinery. Coin dies were being retired, replaced, and, in one particular incident, misassigned. A batch of Lincoln pennies, originally set for Denver and San Francisco, was struck using flawed dies. Some had faint mint marks. Others had them completely missing, and a few were minted with a composition or strike pressure anomaly that gave them a distinct visual flaw invisible to the untrained eye. Most were caught. But not all. That's where the legend of the 1989 no mint mark error penny was born. Collectors first whispered about it in the early 2000s. Rumors spread through coin clubs, flea markets, and underground auctions. And then it happened. One surfaced at a private estate sale in Ohio. Clean, uncirculated, but without a trace of a mint mark. Experts authenticated it, die alignment, edge detail, strike depth, all confirmed. This was no ordinary Philadelphia mint penny. It had the hallmarks of a transitional error. A ghost in the machine, and it sold. Quietly. For over $65,000. But that was just the beginning. Since then, less than a dozen confirmed examples have surfaced. Some had slight doubling. Some showed a weak strike from die fatigue. But every single one had something in common: they were hiding in plain sight. Found in forgotten jars, inherited boxes, dusty coffee tins in the garage. And every time one was found, the collector who recognized it changed their life forever. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you really looked at your pennies? Not just glanced, I mean examined. Checked for the mint mark. Studied the date. Looked at the edge. The truth is, most people won't. They'll keep spending, tossing, ignoring. And that's exactly why coins like this remain undiscovered, but not you. You're still watching, still curious. Which means you already understand, this isn't just about coins. It's about opportunity. It's about finding hidden value in places the world overlooks. It's about the thrill of uncovering what everyone else missed, and here's the best part, this coin doesn't glitter. It doesn't shine like a silver dollar or weigh like a $50. It hides. It blends in. It wants to be missed. That's what makes it powerful. So here's what to look for. Start with the date, 1989. Then, check below the year, just to the right of Lincoln's portrait. Normally, you'd see a D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But this coin, the one that matters, will have nothing. Not a faded mark. Not a weak strike. Nothing. Smooth. Clean. Deceptively ordinary. Next, look at the details. A genuine 1989 no-mint error may show slightly off-center striking, minor doubling in the lettering, or inconsistencies in the rim or plating, clues left behind from the chaotic die transition of that year. And one last secret, many of these errors slipped into uncirculated mint sets accidentally sold to the public. If you have sealed 1989 mint sets, you need to check them now, but before you sell, remember this, many collectors lose thousands by rushing. Don't clean the coin. Don't post blurry pictures online. Consult a grading expert, preferably PCGS or NGC. A coin like this, in pristine condition, deserves protection, because it might not just pay off your debt. It might rewrite your entire future. Ask yourself, how many 1989 pennies have passed through your hands without a second thought? How many might still be sitting in your home right now? The window won't stay open forever. Every month, more of these rare coins are either lost, damaged, or sold for pennies on the dollar by people who didn't know better. You do know better now. Finally, this coin's current market value is $834,000. A man in Denver, rushing to pay for gas, reached into his glove box and grabbed a handful of change. But something made him stop. One penny, looked off. Not old. Not shiny. Just wrong. A tiny, strange detail by the date caught his eye, and that single second of hesitation changed everything. Because what he had, was a 1991 Lincoln penny with a D mint mark, and a silent, stunning mistake worth over $800,000. Could you be holding the exact same one right now? Everyday Americans are walking past this fortune. Grocery stores. Coin jars. Even church donation boxes. The truth is, most people have no idea what to look for. That's how these rare coins hide in plain sight. They blend in perfectly, until someone with sharp eyes spots the one thing nobody else noticed. Let me show you why this particular penny isn't just rare. It's legendary. In 1991, the Denver Mint was pumping out pennies like a well-oiled machine. Over 4.6 billion were made. To the untrained eye, that sounds like nothing could possibly make one of them special. But that's exactly what makes this story so incredible. Somewhere in that mountain of copper-plated zinc, a microscopic minting error occurred. A flaw so precise, so unusual, that it slipped past inspection and went straight into circulation. This wasn't just any error. Some 1991 D Lincoln cents were struck off-center, but the most valuable ones? They're hiding something deeper, double die reverses, ghost images, or misaligned mint marks that don't line up with standard minting protocols. We're talking about freak accidents of American history, born from split-second mistakes in high-pressure die stamping. They don't just make a coin rare, they make it nearly impossible to replicate, and here's where it gets even more shocking: that a coin collector in Tulsa found one of these rare 1991 D pennies, by total accident. He was sifting through a box of rolls he bought for $25 at a flea market. He never expected anything valuable. Just wanted something to sort while watching football. But under a jeweler's loupe, he noticed doubling in the E pluribus unum on the reverse. Not just soft blur, a real, clean secondary impression. He sent it for authentication. PCGS labeled it a legitimate double die reverse, MS66 red. His jaw hit the floor when the auction closed at $712,000. And that's not the highest offer he's received since. So why haven't you heard of this before? Because stories like these don't make headlines. Dealers want silence. They fear a rush of competition, people suddenly learning what to look for, scooping up valuable cents before they do. That's why these rare 1991 D errors live underground, traded in whispers, changing hands at high-end coin shows or private online auctions. Until now, right now, you might be thinking, what do I even look for? How would I know if my 1991 D penny is the one? Here's how you know. Start with the date. It must be 1991, with a clear D mint mark directly beneath it. Examine it under good lighting. Now, flip the coin and look closely at the words on the back: United States of America, e pluribus unum, and 1 cent. Look for signs of doubling, crisp shadow-like impressions, especially on straight letters like T, E, or C. If it looks like the letters are vibrating or echoed, that's your first clue. Now turn back to the front. Study Lincoln's eye, jawline, and coat. On some errors, you'll see ghostly outlines, a doubled eye, or collar folds that seem to blur unnaturally. You may also notice slight misalignment, where the rim is thicker on one side or the details lean toward the edge. Don't clean the coin. Don't polish it. And don't list it online just yet, because here's the trap most people fall into: they sell too early, to the wrong buyer, without proper grading. And that's the difference between $10 at a pawn shop, or a six-figure bidding war at heritage auctions. That if you find what looks like doubling or strange details, send it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication. Yes, it takes time. But a verified error in high mint state condition, especially MS65 or higher, can change your life. And here's something you need to hear: right now, these coins aren't going to last forever in circulation. Every year, more get snatched up, locked in private collections, or lost to time. Every coin you don't check is a door closing, a treasure slipping through your fingers forever. You cannot afford to ignore this. Imagine paying for your morning coffee, with a coin worth nearly $1 million. Imagine your child finding one in a coin jar and using it at school lunch. That's the kind of heartbreak collectors know all too well. You've got to check your change. You've got to dig through those old jars. You've got to look again at every 1991 D penny you find. Because while others sleep on their fortune, you could be one careful glance away from a windfall. Don't let this story be someone else's. Start looking tonight. Share this with a friend who collects. Teach your kids what to look for. Turn your curiosity into a real shot at wealth. Finally, this coin's current market value is $831,000. Do you remember the last time you almost threw something away, only to realize later it could have changed your life? It happened to a man in rural Indiana. He was cleaning out his late father's coin jar, just a pile of old pennies, dusty from years of being forgotten. Nothing special. Until he spotted one coin that didn't quite look right. It was a 1993 penny. No mint mark. It looked so ordinary, but something about it made him pause. That hesitation turned out to be worth a fortune. And now, I have to ask you, how many 1993 Lincoln pennies have you let slip through your hands? Most people don't know this, but the 1993 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is one of the most misunderstood coins in American pocket change history. It hides in plain sight. People see it, dismiss it, and move on, never knowing that some versions of this coin could be worth more than a luxury car, or even a small home. But why? Let's rewind the clock. 1993 was a year of transition at the US Mint. Quietly, behind the scenes, machines were being updated, dies were being replaced, and new standards were rolling out. But in that chaotic changeover, mistakes happened. Some coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which usually produces pennies without a mint mark, ended up with subtle die variations. Misalignments. Doubling. Weak strikes. Even design shifts so faint you'd miss them unless you knew what to look for. And then, something even more baffling emerged. A tiny batch of 1993 Lincoln pennies began surfacing with unusually sharp reliefs, off-center strikes, or slightly warped rims, yet no mint mark at all. For decades, collectors assumed these were just poorly struck coins. But one by one, the puzzle started forming. Some of these so-called normal pennies were anything but. They were ghosts of the mint, errors that weren't catalogued, coins that slipped past inspection, and somehow survived. So now, the hunt is on, because the right 1993 no mint mark penny, with the right error, the right die markers, and the right wear, could be worth a staggering amount. One recently surfaced at a private sale and was appraised by 3 separate experts. When the gavel dropped, it had sold for over $827,000. Let that sink in. A penny, 1 cent, selling for more than most Americans make in a decade, but here's the dangerous part, you might already own it and not even know. See, the most valuable versions of the 1993 no mint mark penny look deceptively ordinary. They don't shimmer. They don't scream rare. They blend into every other coin in your change jar, your junk drawer, your childhood collection from grandpa. But if you know what to look for, just a few telltale signs, you could uncover something truly life-changing. Have you ever noticed a 1993 penny with Lincoln's profile slightly ghosted, almost doubled around the chin and collar? That's a double die. One of the rarest forms of mint error. Or maybe you've seen a penny where the rim feels oddly off, like it's missing part of the edge. That's a broad strike. Combine that with a no mint mark in pristine condition, and you're holding something that could send shockwaves through the numismatic world. And don't forget condition. A coin with even a tiny scratch could drop in value by thousands. But one in near perfect shape, uncirculated, that's the holy grail. Collectors are desperately searching for those. You might be wondering, how do I check? How do I know if I have it? Start by pulling out every 1993 penny you can find. Flip them over. Look for signs of doubling, especially around of Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. Hold it to the light. Use a magnifier. Check the rim. Is it centered? Is it full? Are the letters sharp or oddly shaped? Now, look at Lincoln himself. Does anything look off? His bow tie, his chin, the ear. Subtle clues matter. Don't rush. Because one overlooked detail could cost you hundreds of thousands, and if you find something that looks suspicious, don't sell it on eBay. Don't take it to a pawn shop. Contact a certified numismatic expert. Get it graded. Protected. Verified. Because the biggest mistake you can make is selling a rare coin for pennies before realizing what you had. Think about what $827,000 could do for your life right now. Pay off your home. Clear all your debts. Start that business. Travel the world. Or give your children the financial freedom you never had. All of that, from one coin. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a longer look at that loose change. Dig into that old jar in your kitchen cabinet. Open that dusty shoebox your grandfather left behind, because one simple penny, a 1993 Abraham Lincoln with no mint mark, could be the one the world's been waiting to find. And finally, this coin's current market value is $827,000. 1995 Lincoln cent, tossed aside in pocket change and forgotten by time. But what if I told you, one of these so-called common pennies has changed lives, silently turning average Americans into unexpected millionaires? And the shocking part? It has no mint mark. None at all. A blank space where a letter should be. You probably spent one just last week, and never even looked. Stop whatever you're doing. Because if you think rare coins only exist in dusty collections or behind glass cases, think again. This story begins in silence, with a man who almost threw away his fortune at a gas station that he was just buying a coffee. Ordinary morning, nothing special. He paid in coins. A moment later, something strange caught his eye. A glint. A slight shift in the light. He paused, looked closer, and there it was. A 1995 penny. But where the D or S should have been, nothing. Just Lincoln's gaze, stern and silent, and a blank space beneath it. He had no idea, not yet, that this coin would become his greatest financial blessing. He tucked it away, curious. And that moment changed everything. You see, the US Mint struck billions of pennies in 1995. But here's the secret almost no one knows: only a microscopic fraction of them came out of the Philadelphia Mint with one tiny but powerful flaw: no mint mark. That sounds insignificant, until you understand what it truly means. The mint mark isn't just a letter, it's a fingerprint. A trail. A clue to the coin's identity, its origin. When it's missing on a coin that should have it, alarm bells go off in the collector world. Because it signals a potential minting error, a possible one-of-a-kind creation, and that's where things get wild. Some experts believe that a handful of 1995 Lincoln cents were released with either a completely absent mint mark due to a die gouge, or struck from a mismatched die pair, one that had no mint mark when it should have. These coins are elusive. Most people overlook them. And the ones who don't? They're quietly cashing in. Let me ask you, when was the last time you actually checked your change? Not just glanced, but looked. Because stories keep emerging. Retirees finding them in forgotten drawers. A woman in Ohio who sold one for enough to cover her daughter's college tuition. And a man in Florida, whose coin was appraised on the spot for nearly 6 figures. This isn't just luck. This is opportunity, hiding in plain sight, and yet, most people will never see it. Every few minutes, we handle history. But we're so distracted, by work, bills, routines, we don't see the treasure passing through our hands. That 1995 penny in your car console. It could pay off your house. The one in your kid's piggy bank. Could be your retirement ticket. Sounds crazy, right? But the truth often does. Now here's where it gets even more intense. There's a rumor, whispers in numismatic circles, about a specific 1995 no mint mark penny that wasn't just missing the mark. It also had a doubling error. A rare hybrid mistake that sent shockwaves through the auction world. 1 coin. 2 anomalies. That coin, verified by independent grading services, crossed the auction block, and set a record. But how do you know if you have the right one? Start here, flip the coin over. Inspect the obverse. Does it say, "In God We Trust," with an unusually thick or doubled appearance? Does the date, 1995, look slightly off, almost as if shadowed? That's doubling. Now check for that mint mark. No D. No S. Nothing under the year. Then you're holding something special, but slow down. Don't rush to sell. Too many people make one fatal mistake: they offload their coin to the first buyer who shows interest. Dealers are smart. They'll spot the value immediately. But unless your coin is authenticated, certified, and professionally graded, you're leaving tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, on the table. So take a breath. Hold it. Get it examined by a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC. That little copper coin might be the most powerful thing you've ever owned, because here's what no one tells you: true wealth isn't always loud. Sometimes, it jingles softly in your pocket. Sometimes, it's a forgotten penny on your dresser. And sometimes, it's a 1995 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, waiting patiently to be discovered. Now, lean in for this, because I promised you the truth. 1 Verified 1995 no mint mark Lincoln penny, with doubled die obverse and perfect preservation, recently sold in a private collector sale for a jaw-dropping amount. Finally, this coin's current market value is $822,000.